at the question of bullying at the school. First of all, do you acknowledge that there is bullying at the middle school?
Sure, I do.
Do you think it's worse than at other schools?
Well, it would be that's a little bit hard to determine, but as I have been in superintendent meetings, as I've been in some schools in the last couple of months to do some work with some other superintendents, not because I've asked so much as it has just come up in conversations. I hear other administrators at the superintendent level in schools that are AEA talk about middle schools, and middle schools being tougher places to staff with teachers who really know and understand, who really like middle school age kids, and who really can live day to day with that student who's not a little kid anymore, and then that kid who's just trying to figure out, am I just about ready for high school? And I find that, or in my listening, I guess I would say, I find that there's lots of us, and I would say it's probably across Iowa and maybe across the nation, who find middle school to be not a tougher, but a more challenging. To me, there's a little bit of difference there. But it takes a teacher who really likes kids that are 11, 12, 13, 14, that are just trying to figure out who they are. And so what is important in my life, and who are my friends, and how do I have relationships with people, and for the first times really dealing with things like gossip, and liking someone, if I'm a girl who's a boy, maybe more than I've ever thought that I would when I was a younger student. And so it's that pre-adult kind of time for them, and it's hard. It's hard for kids, I think, and it takes lots of support by parents, and lots of understanding, and lots of, both at home and at school, just sticking with, these are the things we believe to be important, we got to keep doing those things with these students. So yes, there are issues and concerns, but I'd also throw it out to whoever might be listening, that you put 300 kids, or you put 300 adults in a building all day long to make decisions, let's say that they were the learners, and to operate in the context that middle school or high school operates in, and we'd have issues or concerns. It wouldn't run without flaw. Part of it isn't the number 300, it's just a group of people that are all about the same age, and again, trying to figure out a little bit about who they are. I don't have a good answer for, do we have more bullying and harassment than other schools? Do we have less? I don't know. I hear on the news occasionally, or read in the Des Moines Register articles about middle school age students in other districts pulling crazy stunts and doing crazy things, so it sort of says to me it happens about everywhere.
And I've gotten a lot of them emailed to me since this came out. People have been sending them to me saying, see.
But yeah, would we ever be satisfied that we have bullying and harassment? Absolutely not. No. And any administrator who said that it's just how it is. Kids will be kids, so this is how it is, and we're not going to worry about it, that would sure be the wrong take on it as well. But we shouldn't make things bullying and harassment. We shouldn't call things that aren't bullying and harassment, but the things that are, we need to deal with. There need to be consequences. We need to move on. And honestly, I think that if we think about a really rational way to handle this is, if kids can learn from the situations that take place while they're still in a school setting that's supportive of them, and with parents who can help guide them, really that's the best place to have the first problematic situations happen. As a parent, I can remember thinking, if my kids stub their toes and make some mistakes while they still live with our family, in a way that's the place it ought to happen, because I can pick them up, dust them off, and send them back out and say, get going and try it again. You made a mistake, you're going to start over. But I could be supportive of that. Probably better than to have it happen when they're in college and alone, or have a chance to make more difficult, tougher decisions. But I think that parents play a huge role in this piece about how they approach issues of relationships, interrelationships. How do they relate at home with each other? Are examples or non-examples of what we'd want to have happen?
You brought up something interesting before. You said that not everything is bullying or harassment. What are some examples of things that are not bullying or harassment that are being called it and are causing problems.
Sure. Something that might be called bullying and harassment is if something happens the first time. So I'm going to go back to something I think that we talked about at one point.
When you say that, what you mean is...
I call you a name for the first time.
Okay.
I call you a name the first time. In my estimation, that's name calling. Okay? I called you a name that you don't like, you report it to someone. Or even before that, you tell me to stop calling me that name. But then, 7th period today, I call you the name, and 3rd period tomorrow, and in the hallway, and at lunch, and if it's repeated and unwanted by you, it moves from name calling to bullying and harassment. And sort of where that line is sometimes is a little tough to determine, but what isn't is name calling. What isn't bullying and harassment is just a shared discipline issue. We've had some discussion and I talk back to you, or I say something that you don't like. Gossip can sometimes be reported as bullying and harassment, but if I've gossiped about you, you've told me to stop, you've gone to someone at school to take care of it, that adult talked to me about it and I never do it again, it was gossip, it wasn't bullying and harassment. And the other piece of this is an instrumental part of, or an integral part of bullying and harassment is who has the power. Especially if you talk in the workplace is a better example, and that would be if the boss is doing something to the employee that the employee has asked them to stop doing. So it's repeated, it's unwanted, and the person, the perpetrator, is in a position of power. So older kids to younger kids, bigger kids to smaller kids, sometimes males to females, even at the middle school level, they may be the same grade, but those might have the first edges to bullying and harassment to them. But if you think about the perpetrator has power some way or another, either older or bigger or both. If it's repeated and if it's unwanted, those are the 3 big pieces. And so sometimes when an incident's reported, all you have to do is run those 3 things through your head to say, wait a second, we might not have bullying and harassment. Let's say I'm talking to you as a student, if I'm the counselor or the principal. But you know what I think we might have is we might have a discipline situation. And so let's talk about, has this happened before? And you say to me, no. And we talk about the context, it might clearly be a discipline situation.
How cooperative are parents when you bring them in and start having this conversation with them?
Well, parents wouldn't typically be involved in the beginning of the conversation, but there's varying levels of cooperation. Generally, if we say to a parent, we need your help in a situation at school, parents are generally pretty supportive because it's pretty hard to say to someone, no, I'm not going to help you based on something related to my child. But when we say, we really need your help with this, because sometimes what has happened is the student has reported it to the parent way before they ever would have reported it at school. And so it may have been ongoing, but we just don't know that. So what seems so easy to say, well, that's just name calling, or that's, in elementary we would call it tattling. You know, I'm going to run to somebody because somebody called me a name. Generally in elementary school, students stop it. The older kids are in elementary, the more often it wouldn't, but that still doesn't mean that it's bullying or harassment. So it's kind of a matter of those 3 elements again, unwanted, repeated, and where that balance of power is.